But anyway, brother, I appreciate the opportunity to share at least a little bit. The three basic charges that I had that put me in prison. One, not withholding taxes from employees. There were 12 counts of that. Well, first of all, we didn't have any employees. Everybody came and worked as an independent contractor. They were a missionary, and the churches are not obligated to withhold anyway. And I showed all the laws in that 2005 affidavit. I said, look, here's the law, 1403 or whatever this statute number is. It says if you're ordained minister, you can't do that. I'm ordained. I can't do. I'm not a withholding agent for you. What should I do? And they never answered. Instead, they came and arrested me. So 12 counts of not withholding taxes from employees, I think, were totally bogus. My attorney did too. And after trial, he said, Kent, don't even give a defense. The jury can see you broke no laws. You did nothing wrong. Don't even give a defense. I said, okay. So I trusted him, and we didn't give a defense. Second charge was structuring, which I had never heard of. We had for years taken money out of the bank to keep on hand to do remodeling of quite a few of the older houses we bought in our neighborhood. They were built in the 1930s and 40s and needed a whole lot of work. So we were always sending college students to the lumber yard. Here's $500 or $1,000. Go get shingles for this house or plywood or whatever. And we're remodeling these houses so staff can live in them. Well, so my wife was taking $1,000 a week out of the bank, or then it gradually grew to $2,000, $3,000. It got up to $9,500, and the pastor had told us, try to keep it under $10,000 because the bank fills out a form. Okay, so we tried to keep under 10. Of course, that wasn't hard when oftentimes all we had was under 10,000. But about every 12 days average, she would go get $9,500 to have on hand to pay all these things, projects we're doing. 3 years, in 2003, Glenn Stoll in the Ministry of Remedies at Law took over the ministry and said, oh, why don't you stop that? Go ahead and get some credit cards that stop these cash transactions. Okay, so we stopped. Got a couple credit cards, and no problem. 3 years later, they arrest us for structuring. I said, what did we do? What?
You have 60 seconds remaining.
We took cash out of the bank. Yeah, and there's no drug money here. This is structuring laws were for drug transactions. I've never seen any drugs, never taken, and never tasted alcohol. They said, no, that was structuring. Well, the structuring laws say it's over 10,000 in one day if you break it up into 2 transactions. We never did that. It was 1 transaction every 12 days. And then, after trial, they said, the judge changed the jury instructions and told the jury, if you find out that the Hovinds took out less than 10,000, you have to find them guilty, which is not what the law says. The law says over 10,000. So the jury, of course, confused by all that, said, well, yeah, they took out less than 10,000. That's obvious. Yeah, but that's not what the law says. Anyway, so they found us guilty. Then the U.S. attorney said, now, that $400,000 that they withdrew all those years, that should belong to the government. We want that forfeited. My attorney said, excuse me, wait a minute, hold on, I object. Hey, those forfeiture laws are based on drugs. If it was drugs, yes, you can forfeit the money. This is not drug money. This is Kent's preaching and traveling and videotapes. So, but the judge, we demanded a hearing and a trial over, well, another step before that. But so they said, yep, you have to turn over all that money. Of course, that money's been long spent 5 years earlier. So there is no money to turn over. So then when the U.S.
This call is from the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
When the U.S. attorney found out I don't own anything, I live in a church parsonage, drive a church van, I don't own anything. I don't want to. I want to sort of dedicate myself to the Lord. Anyway, they said, well, we want to seize the church ministry property. And the trustee, Glenn Stoll and now Paul Hansen, said, excuse me, hold it, that's not Kent's. You can't seize that. That belongs to the ministry. We demand a hearing or a trial because the jury sure didn't find that. And 7 months later, with no hearing, no trial, all of a sudden the judge ruled, yep, you can seize the church property for Kent's personal tax bill, which is not even a tax bill, it's structuring based on drug laws. It's retarded. I mean, retarded at many levels, the whole thing is, which is what they're trying to cover up now. So one of the U.S. attorneys runs down to the church bank account, seizes that whole bank account. A couple weeks later, he gets on an airplane to fly to Detroit to have sex with a 5-year-old. Gets off the plane with Vaseline and a doll and finds out it's a sting operation. FBI waiting for him. They arrest him and put him in jail, and he hangs himself in jail. October 5th, 1970, or 2007. People can Google that. John David Roy Atchison. He was one of the U.S. attorneys. He's the one that seized the bank account. Anyway, so then it was quiet for a while. Then they went to seize the church property, changed the name at the courthouse from the name of the trust to the U.S. government, and wanted to sell them. And so the whole thing now is about me filing a Liz Pendens saying, hold it, this case is still being litigated. Don't sell that property, or at least let the buyer beware if you're going to buy property. A Liz Pendens is simply a notice saying, hey, we're notifying people that there's litigation still pending. You might want to be careful about buying this property, which, of course, people ought to know. And so that's what they want to give me. They could give me 100 years in prison for filing a Liz Pendens.
Wow.
Actually, they're claiming it was mailed across state lines, actually across federal lines. See, what's happened over the years, the federal government has quietly created 51 federal zones, like there's a state of Texas and there's a Texas state. And the TX with the zip code 76095 or whatever is part of their federal zones. It's one of their tricks to make the whole country under federal control, whereas the Constitution gives the federal government military bases, post offices, and Washington, D.C., and necessary buildings. But no, the federal government wants to grow to say, oh no, we own every square inch of the whole country, and they don't. That's another entire issue of a jurisdiction. Where do they have jurisdiction? Where is this federal zone? There are multiple levels where this case, I welcome a full investigation by Congress. There will be a full investigation before God one of these days.
Amen, amen.
There were 3 charges. Yeah. The first charge was 12 counts of not withholding taxes. The second charge was 45 counts of structuring, taking $9,000 or $9,500 out of the bank, which is crazy. The final charge, count 58, was threatening an IRS agent while he's in the course of his duty, while he's doing his duty. The only thing we can figure out, there was never anything on that other than I prayed for the guy on the radio after they raided the ministry. I was doing a radio program, and I prayed for him. I said, Lord, I'm your child. I want you to handle this. These people came after us. What they did was illegal. I want you to fix it, Lord. You did it in the Bible. I want you to do it for me. I turn him over to you. He thought I was threatening him by praying for him on the radio. They gave me 3 years in prison.
Wow.
Praying on the radio.
Wow.
It is that's what my charges are. Now, Proverbs 18:13 says, or 13:18, I forget. It says, he that answereth the matter before he heareth it, it's folly and shame to him. So if there are Christians out there saying, oh, Kent broke some law and he should be in prison, they don't know what they're talking about.